Hi there. Warwick Johnston here with you for another podcast. Got an interesting market update to share with you, and we've got an interview with Daman Cole. We'll be talking about the serial number validation and what it means and what the opportunities are there. We're coming to you today from the Sheraton Mirage at Port Douglas. We're up here with the Solar Elite for the Solar Juice. Well, I don't know how you describe it, but I was giving an interesting presentation today on the market for the guys up here. A lot of successful businesses doing interesting things. I'm going to attempt to share a bit of content with you guys and describe what's going on in the meeting. In the market. So let's just see how we go with that. I'm not 100% that it's going to work, but I'm going to be a good crack. I guess the key thing that's important to note that we're seeing this year is that we have a market that's booming. Of course, we know all of this. July was another record month. 182 megawatts was registered, and you're just seeing record after record in the national tally. They've got a chart on the screen there showing what's happening in Victoria. Of course, it's cooled right back, but the gap's been picked up by the booming record months in New South Wales and Queensland. And then on top of that, we've got South Australia and WA filling in the pace. So effectively, as you smooth out on month-to-month variations, we're just sustaining nicely at booming record levels. And those records are happening in commercial as well. Looks like we might not have got any of those screenshots for you, but I'll put some images into the file and link it for you guys. The interesting thing here is that the records are happening in most of the major states, and that in commercial, you're just seeing across every size range of the commercial subsegments. So booming opportunity here, and as I know today, we are just a small fraction of the way through the energy transformation that's happening. It's a big disruption that solar's rolling out. Now, amongst all the big disruptions, one of the things which the Clean Energy Regulator has brought in that's has the potential to be a positive disruption is the serial number validation scheme. And I'm speaking today with Daman Cole, and it's been in the industry for quite some time. Right now he's in Queensland, just like me. But Daman, tell us, where are you these days, and what are you up to?
Certainly, wonderful, and thanks for the opportunity, Warwick. So as Warwick mentioned, I've been in solar for some years. I think if I counted them, it's probably too scary to tell, but it's over the decade. And in that time, I've served through the capacities of being in residential retail, commercial industrial, utility, and also working with a manufacturer. And one of the things I identified as a problem, which is where I think we all see great business opportunity, is that at one point in the Australian marketplace in the early 2010s, Australia was importing about 420 brands of solar panel to the Australian market, and all of which were considered acceptable or approved by the Clean Energy Council. Not to point the finger to them, but at the time, I think we thought we knew what was best. Now, to compare 420 brands, for most that don't know, there's only about 70 brands of car imported into Australia and about 120 brands of mobile phone. So if it gives you some comparison, it's pretty much a scary number. And as we all know, solar panels are these amazing devices that, of course, convert sunlight to electricity and solve the problems and energy woes for many. But some of these are also quite nuanced in the sense that as they have been imported, they may have a wonderful sticker upon them, but on that sticker, there is an implied warranty or protection that most consumers believe that they've been obtaining. What we saw was the opportunity to, how do you have a better dialogue and a better sense of transparency that you can provide both to an installer, but also a consumer? And in 2016, we were delighted to kind of get the attention of the Clean Energy Regulator, who shared our view. And in that, what they identified with is that multiple goods are coming into the market. They've got serial numbers on them.
Parallel importing, right? That was the issue that they initially tried to solve. Is that right?
Yeah, there was an issue which was most proudly raised by Fiona at Greenbank, where there was a series of a brand of product that entered the market and STCs were claimed upon them, only to find out that those goods were non-genuine goods. So The intention, of course, of this was not to point out parallel imports, because that's a completely legal operation that's allowed. The intention was to be able to expose if somebody had imported those goods and there was a liability issue, whom is that importer and how can they be liable? And to date, that hadn't been in existence. So the intention of serial validation was to be able to track goods from importation all the way through to installation, and for the curious consumer to throw their hand in the air and say, look, I want to know more about this, and that there was information that could be presented.
Now, I'm guessing that the consumer probably doesn't know about this, or perhaps even care too much, but obviously it's something good for the solar industry in its integrity. But are there some specific benefits for some solar installers to be using the serial panel validation scheme? Do they get paid quicker, or is there something else that helps them? They're more protected? What goes on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, this all began as a matter of integrity. How do you present a better story for the good installers that can take to the good customers? And how do you not dilute brands, meaning the brands of product or the brand of installer, just because it had a certain sticker on it? So the intention of the serial validation at first is to ensure that we have some connectivity between whom is installing, what are you installing, and are those warranties still applicable? The second factor is about STC trading. So it's taken some time for the Clean Energy Regulator to come out with a mechanism, which we're delighted to hear that they're soon to announce. But by the 1st of October, as we believe currently, they will announce that any solar systems that are claiming rebates, if they use the serial validation platform, including goods that are on the serial validation, then they're likely to get their transactions for STCs or renewable rebates faster. What faster means is somewhere between 24 to 48 hours. What it also means is those that are not using this system or not using compliant product may be put onto a slow track. Now, I don't think this is as simple as just saying some will be put onto a fast track versus slow track. The reality is as you opened in this discussion, the installation inquiry has increased month on month, in fact, year on year, and the CER has limited resources. So to best manage a doubling of applications, it's better to put some onto a fast track that can be automated through apps and technology.
Okay, and so essentially installers can get paid quicker, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, fundamentally, it's trying to incentivize. I mean, any other change would have been a regulatory change, and nobody wants that in our industry because it always serves more harm than good. But the fundamental aim was for those that are purchasing quality goods from reputable importers that are participating in this scheme, they can get their STCs significantly faster. And the aim of that is then those that have the right integrity in participating, they won't have a cash flow imposition, which starts to separate those that are really trying to cut the corner. And to suggest that they're not there is a bit of a fallacy. Even today, published in the Courier Mail and Daily Telegraph in New South Wales, and I think also in South Australia, is another news article that talks about dodgy solar panels. Now, I don't think it's fair to entirely attribute the solar panel itself, but because we have nobody else to blame, i.e. the importer, then we can't seem to figure out where this stuff is coming from and why consumers may have their dreams squashed because they thought they were getting a decent quality system from a decent installer, but in the end, realities were different.
Now, you're not from the Clean Energy Regulator. What's your involvement in the scheme, and how do you help?
Certainly. So some time ago, we saw the opportunity to provide technology that would best serve this function. I developed a company called SolarScope, and we started in 2016. Effectively, the intention, as simple as it was to create an app. That app would scan a serial number and tell you if it's a validated good or not. You could then use that information as an installer to trade your STCs, knowing that it's a validated system. Sorry, it's a validated product, and then present that into the rec registry for STC trading. It used to be a very simple proposition. It's now quite a comprehensive proposition. So how we've now developed is we know that STC trading is a key part of any solar retailer in Australia. And what we've aimed to do is develop a tool that is agnostic to any STC trader, but it allows the installer to capture any and all information that they require from site, validate the goods that are needed, and then share that information with any STC trader that they deem fit. At the end of this, we also provide what's called a certificate of validated installation. So it's something that brings the consumer on this journey in suggesting that they can get a piece of paper that says the goods that we sold you have been validated by the Clean Energy Regulator, and don't worry, all is good.
Okay, so you can use any STC aggregator. Does that mean you're doing all your compliance within the Solar Scope app itself, or are you, how does it tie in with whatever app that solar installers might be using at present?
Yeah, so it's a nuance, because what we appreciate is everyone's got their own systems and everyone has a different way of doing things. We took the view that if we designed a platform that allowed you to validate whilst on site, then before the good goes onto a roof, then you get some certainty that the good is valid or it's not. The second factor is then it's a packet of data. So we're not a compliance tool. We're effectively just a tool. And in that, we then put the onus and responsibility on the retailer to know what they need to meet the needs of trading STCs and what compliance is required. So you may go to trader A and they may have 5 more requirements than trader B. It's not our job to say what is required or what is not. The app itself will capture the minimum requirements as is required by the Clean Energy Regulator.
Okay, and does it work with, obviously that not all panel brands are registered for serial panel validation, but for those panel brands that are, does it work with all brands, or is the app limited to a specific number of brands? How does that work?
Yeah, unfortunately it's quite limited. So it's limited and it's progressed. So to date, we believe over 80% of the manufacturers in Australia, as I've been advised by the Clean Energy Regulator, are participating in this scheme. As that means 80% of the brands that are in this market can be validated. Now, this is a constant progress because new brands are coming into the market all the time. There's new supply chains, but the intention really is we're trying to connect a brand in the market with an importer that has an ABN, so a local importer. And why that's important is there's several brands that are around the world but don't have local representation. And if they don't, that's the first hurdle for the Clean Energy Regulator. They're trying to find and ensure that goods that are coming into market are coming in via reputable installers. So the view is all the major brands that I can think of, there's about 18 at the moment, ranging from LG, Jinko, JA, Trina, Canadian Solar, Q-Cells, Winaco, SolarEdge, and Tindo, just to name a few. They're all participating in the program as of today. Tomorrow that may change and there may be a few more.
Okay, and so how do people find out more information about your app?
Certainly. So solarscope.com.au, that's our website. That should be able to detail about what the app is, what functions we provide, what services, any other questions. Of course, there's a contact us. However, the thing that I think is most prudent is to point everybody to the Clean Energy Regulator's Serial Validation Scheme page. To me, that's probably more representative of the scheme itself, noting that this is the first initiative where a federal government body has partnered with industry to solve a solution. And I think we can all agree that the solution is needed. It's about transparency through the supply chain, for the importer to the manufacturer, the retailer, and of course the end consumer, the most important part of this. But the Clean Energy Regulator's website, their solar panel validation, can be easily found by typing into Google. That should be quite detailed about how it works, who's involved, and where to take next steps.
Look, it seems like a really interesting initiative. Of course, the better industry integrity is, the longer and the more sustainable our industry is. And good to see, yeah, that progress has been made, and also that people can ultimately get paid quicker. So thanks so much for joining us, Damon. I'm going to sign off from beautiful, well, Port Douglas. So not a bad little location there to be bring this podcast to you from. Hope you're enjoying yourself there in Queensland as well. And thanks for joining us, Damon.
Thanks so much. Go have a swim for all of us.
Okay, that's right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.